Hi guys, it's Sherry. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. Y'all, let's do some super fun paper crafting. Stay tuned. So in a previous video, we made this stinking cute, awesome Victorian Easter card. And you can see just how gorgeous it is. We have our spot for writing here, and then we have these beautiful scenes on both sides. And then we also have a very beautiful front to this. Now, I consider this to be a keepsake. So I think that anytime we make a keepsake project like this, we also need to make a keepsake box. And that's exactly what we're going to be making today. You can see just how gorgeous this box is, and it is designed to hold this particular card. And even though it's designed to hold this card, this really is a multifunctional box. And so here is the custom box that we're going to be making. I'll go over this more when we get ready to go over the supplies that are needed to make the project. But I did want to go ahead and make sure that you guys had just an overall general look of what today's project is going to be. Now, y'all know what time it is. It is time to make it. All right, guys, so here is a closer look at the project that we're going to be making today. We are going to be making this very handsome box to hold our custom Victorian Easter card. So as you can see, that card fits inside of this box nicely. And I would consider this a true keepsake because of the amount of time that we're putting into it and then the outcome that we get. This is something that when you give it to someone, they are not going to want to get rid of this. So let's make sure that we present it in a keepsake holder box. And that's exactly what we have here. So we're going to put that in. And you can see just how gorgeous this is. So let's go ahead and make it. All right, so to make our box, we have quite a few pieces. So this is going to be a chipboard box. If you do not have chipboard, please use whatever you think will work on your project. But I have 2 pieces of chipboard that measure 1 5/8 by 6 1/2. I have 2 pieces that measure 1 5/8 by 7 1/2. I have 3 pieces that measure 6 3/8 by 7 3/8. And then I have 1 piece that measures 7 5/8 by 6 5/8. And then you'll need 2 pieces that measure 6 1/4 by 7 1/4. And in the description box, you'll find links for the chipboard that I use and then videos on how I cut it. Then I have my decorative paper, and I have 1 piece that measures 8 by 8, 1 piece that measures 10 by 10. Then I have 2 scrap pieces that measure 4 by 12. I have a piece that measures 11 by 12. And I have a piece that measures 12 by 12. So we're going to go ahead and make the box bottom first. And we need to bring in our piece that measures 12 by 11. And we are going to score this at 1/2 inch and at 2 1/4 on all 4 sides. So that's 1/2 inch and 2 1/4 on all 4 sides. 1/2 inch, 2 1/4. 1/2 inch, 2 1/4. So then we're going to fold and burnish all of those scores. And once we have all of our scores folded and burnished, we have 3 corner pieces that we're going to be removing on all 4 sides. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I want to go ahead and free this long tab. So I'll go up to that 2nd score mark and drag straight down. And now that I have this tab free, I will angle in here. I'm going to go ahead and reduce that in size. I'll angle here and remove this piece. So we can do the same thing over here. So I'll just go ahead and angle. And we can angle. We can remove this piece. and then we can reduce. I'll do the same thing over here, so I'm just going to go up and free my middle tab. Now I can fold that in, and I'll angle this piece, angle there, angle here, reduce that. Do the same thing over here, so I'll angle in, angle in here, angle here, and then reduce this piece. And so now your piece is going to look like this. On those two pieces that you folded in, go ahead and just do a slight angle cut on that bottom part of it, this flap here. That'll just make it easier when you're folding over our box. So now your project piece should look like this. I am going to go ahead and take my glue and put my box together. So I'm going to make sure that my corners are nice and crisp. And I'll do the same thing on this side. So we'll get that matched. Make sure that our corners are nice and tight. And then we'll come over to this side and do the same thing. So I'm going to take my glue, place my glue on those flaps. Then I'll do my match, making sure that I have it nice and even. And I'll do the same thing over here. And now your box should look like this. I am going to take these pieces and just fold them backwards out of my way while we do the next part. So now we need to bring in our chipboard pieces that measure 1 5/8 by 7.5 and 1 5/8 by 6.5. Then we have the 2 pieces of 4 by 12 scrap. You don't necessarily have to have 4 by 12 scrap, but just make sure you have scrap pieces so that you can cover these. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. So I am going to remove my tape backers, and I just want to cover these pieces. We will be lining the inside of our box. That's just a quick way to get a sturdy box without going through the process of cutting all those little pieces to join a box together. So I'll use my finger blade and I'm going to trim out all of these pieces. And there's one of my pieces. Here's my second piece. Do the same thing on this one. Then I'm just going to take my big old spatula, go over these just to make sure that my paper is nice and stuck. So now that we have these covered, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with one of our 6 3/8 by 7 3/8 inch pieces, and this is going to be the bottom of our box. So I am going to remove my tape and cover this. I'll just trim out. So now that we have this piece covered, I'll go ahead and just smooth that out with my big old spatula. Now the first thing that I want to do is I want to do a test fit, and I'm testing to make sure that it's going to fit this way, and then I want to test to make sure that it's going to fit this way. So I know that it fits this way, and I know that it fits this way. So now I'm just going to take some tape, place some tape on the underside, and then we'll put this down. Let's go ahead and get that stuck. I'll remove my tape backers. And then I can take this piece and just drop it in because I did my test fit, so I know that it's going to fit, and I'll get that nice and stuck. Now we have a nice sturdy base to our box. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to take my pieces that measure 1 5/8 by 7 1/2. We're going to do that same test fit to make sure that first of all they're going to fit nicely on the inside and that they will not stick up over this lip here. So it appears to be just a little more snug than I want. So all I'm going to do is trim away just a small amount, and you can see that I did not trim a whole lot. I trimmed just a sliver, and I'll do that same test fit again, and I'm happier with this fit than I was the first fit. So now I'm going to take my other 7 1/2 by 1 5/8 inch piece and trim it down to match that first one. And now I'll just do a quick test fit on it. And then when I'm pleased with how they fit, I'll just take a piece of my tape, place it on the back. You can do this with glue as well. And I'm just going to place this down. And then we'll position it in our box. And you'll see just how quick and easy this method is. So we're going to take this piece, place it in, push it all the way against that bottom piece, and get it stuck. And then I'll come over to the other side, and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to press it all the way against that bottom piece and get it stuck. Now we can do our side pieces, and these pieces measure 1 5/8 by 6 1/2. And I am just going to do that same test fit, and I can see that it's going to be snug. So I'll just keep trimming away and test fitting until I have a fit that I'm happy with. So that's going in there nicely. I am going to take that second one and do the same thing. So I'll just match it to the first one, and I'm going to trim it. And then just to be sure, I'll do another test fit of the second piece that I cut, and you can see that I have a very good fit. So again, I'm going to take my tape, and this is double stick tape, place it down, and we'll get that stuck, and then we're going to place it in our box. And I'll put it in right there, getting everything nicely matched. And I'll come to this side and do the same thing. And then when you look at it, you can see that we have a nice little box. And all we do at this point is we're going to fold over these pieces and glue them down. So I'm going to take my glue, place my glue on that flap, fold it over, and we'll get it stuck. And you can see just how professional that box is starting to look. So I'm going to do this all the way around. Get that stuck. Then I'll do the same thing on these sides. it stuck. And guys, if ever you were looking for a quick way to make a box, this is definitely one of them. There are a couple of other, what I call cheater methods that I use to make boxes, because I don't like going through the process of cutting all of those 1 to 2 inch strips to join a box together. We get the same result here. So if you haven't tried this, go ahead and give it a try. I think you'll like it. So see, we have a nice base to our box. I am just going to take my big old spatula. I'm going across the top to get everything nice and squared. And there we have our box base. I can take my book, put that book in, and you see I have a custom fit. I even have room to take some tissue paper, wrap this real pretty for presentation. Now we're going to make our lid. So to make our lid, let's start with our piece that measures 7 5/8 by 6 5/8. I'll peel away my tape backer. Then I'm going to bring in my piece that measures 12 by 12. I'm going to take this piece, place it down so that I'm giving myself a nice wide border all the way around. I will trim away some. So this is pretty much what I want. Now I'm going to take this and just stand it to get the paper ready to be folded. I'm using very thin paper so I won't have any cracking, but if you think your paper might crack, take your stylus, press it against the chipboard, and then drive it down into the paper on all 4 sides so that you can get a score mark, and that might help minimize any cracking that you might have. So then I'm just going to miter these edges here. This is going to be a quick and easy lid. And then I'm going to use my tape runner. Place some tape on this piece, fold it over, and I'll do this on all 4 sides. So I am just placing tape, folding over, and fold over. Now I'm going to grab my big old spatula, go ahead and round those ends, get everything nice and clean looking. Now we don't have to worry about this because we're going to be covering it. So then we are going to bring in our 2 pieces that measure 6 1/4 by 7 1/4 and the piece that measures 10 by 10. So what we're going to do is we're going to join these 2 pieces together. So before we join the 2 pieces together, make sure you take this piece and do a test fit to make sure it's going to fit this way and it's going to fit this way. If not, trim both pieces until you have that ideal fit this way and this way. So once our pieces are trimmed to fit that box, we are going to take these 2 pieces that measure 6 1/4 by 7 1/4, and we are going to join them together. So I am just going to take these, and the easiest way for me to do it is to stand them up and just push them against one another until I have that double thickness. Then I'll remove my tape from the back. I'll take this piece, and then I'm just going to place it down on my paper just like that. Then I'll smooth everything out. Now we can go along the edges if you happen to be working with a heavier weight paper here that might crack. Go ahead and use your stylus, bone folder, whatever you have, and go along those edges to get a score in that paper. Then I'm going to take my finger blade and I am just going to miter my edges. Then I'm going to take my glue, place my glue on these flaps. And I'll just go ahead and place all of my glue at once. And now we can get this stuck. So I'm just going to pull this piece over. I'll pull that piece over. Then I'm going to use my big old spatula just to kind of tuck in that point there. And now I can pull this piece over. And let's see if I need to do the same thing here. So I'll just go in and pull in that point and pull this piece over. Now I'll make sure that I have everything nice and stuck. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the top piece that we covered already. We'll be taking this piece and we will be applying it to the base of that. And that is how this is going to sit inside of that box, and this will act as a stopper for this moving because it's on the inside and it's going to hit. So what I'm going to do, and I suggest you do it too, is I am going to use wet glue, and you guys know that I use Reptile Glue, and the reason why I'm using glue is because we do need the wiggle room, and I don't have to worry about warping on this board because I have made it doubly thick. So I am just putting down some glue. When I take this piece, I'm going to place it down and I'm going to try to get it nice and centered. I am not going to stick it all of the way yet, but I am going to take my box upside down, put it on, and basically what I'm doing, I'll now just start wiggling everything around by moving the box and pressing against the inside. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the box and I'm pressing it against that inside piece that I put down. And that's why it's so important that you don't use tape, because you want that lid to be able to be moved around for just a few seconds. Then when I have the fit that I want, I can take that lid and get it stuck. And when you look at it from this direction, you can see that we have the outer part and then we have that base that catches on the inside of the box. So when we put it down, we have a gorgeous box on all four sides and we have just a little bit hanging over. Now, if you don't feel as though you can get your placement as closely as I got mine, cut your top piece to 7 3/4 by 6 3/4, and that gives you a little bit more overhang and you don't have to worry about being as exact as I'm being right here. But you can see that I have a very, very good fit on this. So I'm going to take my book and put it on the inside so that you can see what a gorgeous presentation we already have when you remove this lid. But we are going to go ahead and do some light decorating to the top. All right, guys, so what I've done to decorate, I've laid down a scene that I want to use on this project. And I have this little saying that I'll also be putting down. And I'm going to place it right here at the bottom. So I am going to take my phone and take a picture just like I did before, because by the time I lay down those pop dots, I'll forget my placement. So it helps to have a picture as a reference point for where I'm putting all of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Tim Holtz Distress Ink, and it's the walnut stain, and I am just going to go around the edges of everything. Now I have done most of my pieces, as you can see, and I even went around the edges of my box, and now I'm going along this, and I still need to go along the rows. Basically what I'm doing is I'm knocking off some of the brightness. So now I'm going to take some glue and just place that piece down. I had to refer back to my photograph to see how I actually had that piece placed. So I'm going to place that piece there. So then I'm going to go ahead and place down this rose. use my photograph to see where I had it positioned. So it was about right there. So now I'm going to take my pop dots and just place pop dots all over my remaining pieces, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, so I have pop dots on the backs of all of these, and I am just going to use my photograph as a reference point. So I did have a piece popped right there, and then I have my bunny going like that. Then I have a piece here at the bottom covering one of his legs, not both. And then I have this longer piece that I'm just going to loop around just like that. And now I'm going to take this basket and just tuck it in there. Then I have another bunny rabbit. Then I'm going to pop in just like that, and I think that is such a beautiful scene for this box. And then finally I have this sweet little message that says, "Just for you, friend." I am going to take this and we're going to position that right there. And now we have a super sweet little scene on this box. And if you want to lay yours down non-dimensional, you can. Just don't use any pop dots. Or if you want to just tie a big bow across the front, you don't even have to get as elaborate in decorating the outside of your box as I have done here. But it is completely up to you how you want to do this part of your project. So I am going to open this so you can see that we have this gorgeous box on the inside. If I was gifting this, I would actually wrap it in some tissue and probably take one of my die cuts and use that to close that tissue. Then I can put my lid back on, and this is ready to be gifted as a keepsake to someone special. So doesn't that make a very, very pretty presentation? It's amazing what we can do with just some chipboard, paper, and die cuts. We can turn it into something that really is boutique worthy. So guys, I hope you have enjoyed this project, and if you have, please hit the like button. If you are not a subscriber to my channel, I would love to have you join my online crafting family. You guys, as always, please be safe, be kind, happy crafting, and we'll chat later. Bye.